and we've been watching that KINCADE fire in particular. It grew today, unfortunately, and containment went down, meaning they have less of it under control. It actually grew on the southern fringe and just off to the west here. The red spots that you're seeing, those are actually actively burning right now. KINCADE fire is way up here, right around the KINCADE fire. They actually have everything contained, but then once those winds started to drive those embers all the way south and off to the west, it got awfully close to 101. Here's 101 right here, and you can see some of those hot spots getting awfully close to that highway for today. And again, it was all due to the winds that were fueling the flames and pushing that smoke off the coast pretty regularly throughout the day. Now, unfortunately, there was so much smoke coming from it. Look at the air quality at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Northern San Joaquin Valley, Stockton, Modesto, over towards the East Bay area for Livermore and Antioch, dealing with hazardous air quality. It was for a short period of time, but we had smoke coming in from the KINCADE fire, a couple of fires near Vallejo, a couple of grass fires that were coming in. It started to get dispersed a little bit better by about 5 o'clock, but through tonight, given that we still have those strong winds, don't be surprised if a spot fire picks up, and even if it's a grass fire, it could still mean a pretty smoky condition into tomorrow morning. Now, as far as what the winds were doing with the smoke, like I said, it was a pretty big plume heading right off the coast here through the Bay Area from the KINCADE fire. Those fires around Vallejo, also pretty much the same trajectory, pretty much off the coast, but those particles travel quite a distance. So we still had some dispersion all the way through the valley. So the Sunday smoke was definitely prevalent throughout the valley. For those of us that were in the Sacramento area, through NATOMAS, even hey there, Brandon, even around the airport. They always forget
magic of the internet.
Yes. So around the airport, we had that smoke coming in from the fire along I-5. All right, now here's part of the good news is that we actually have our high wind warning. Many areas are actually out of that high wind warning now. This has changed just within about the last half hour. We're still going to keep it up here for the foothills through Yosemite even, because that's where the big focus of energy is going to be. But the valley and even parts of the coastal valley now starting to see those winds back off. You'll see there's still some spots, though, that are going to continue to be under that high wind warning area with gusts over 60 miles per hour. Red flag warning. That's a much different story. That's going to continue through at least tonight into parts of tomorrow. Gusty winds, low humidity. And given that the fuel is still very dry, anything that starts can spread very quickly. All right, let's talk about those peak wind gusts for today. These are just a few that were pointed out. Alpine Meadows, 107 miles per hour. I usually talk about temperatures at 107, not winds. 70 for Jarbo Gap and 67 for Polga. Georgetown, 64, and Vacaville, 58. All right, so let's get to what the winds are doing right now, what they're going to do over the next 24 and even 48 hours, because as we've been talking about, we have a short window of opportunity to get the fires contained, get the mop-up done, check the power lines to get that power back on, because it looks like Tuesday, Wednesday, another wind event. All right, so here's where the winds are. The strongest winds right now are going to be in the foothills. And really what I want to point out is the colors up here on the map. We can take a look at the numbers, but that's just one particular reporting site. Really, the contours tell a much better story because it really starts to lay out the foundation of where we're seeing the widespread wind event, and it is currently in the foothills. Now, earlier today, really strong winds on the west side of the valley over towards the west side of the state with peak wind gusts exceeding 70 miles per hour. We even had some wind gusts over towards the KINCADE fire that were closer to about 100 miles per hour. But here's what happens. We're in this transition zone right now. Foothills really start to get most of the action here. The purple on this map, that indicates 50+ mile per hour wind gusts. And we're going to continue with those through at least midnight, through the foothills, and then we have a little bit of pop-up on the west side of the valley towards the coastal range by about midnight. Now, what you'll notice is that we get better relief over there on the west side of the valley, but until about 3 a.m., we're going to continue with those strong winds in the foothills, and then everything quiets down. Just as quickly as it ramped up, it quiets down again for Monday, and then we're right back at it. Now, one difference with this one that we're going to see It's going to be more on the west side of the state through the Sierra foothills, 50-mile-per-hour winds in that 80-50 corridor, and then more so up towards Paradise and even higher up into the Sierra Valley. Over towards the coastal range, it's not going to be quite as severe. And the reason is the positioning of all the weather systems coming in across the west. And I'll show that to you in just a moment. First, here's what we saw for today. This is that 103-mile-per-hour wind gust that I was looking at over towards the coastal range, and compare that to what we were seeing over on the Sierra foothill side. A little bit lighter, but still really dangerous winds. 70-mile-per-hour peak wind gusts near Paradise, 73 there just to the south, and over towards Forest Hill as well. We were seeing some peak wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. Now, this was the classic setup for today. Low pressure moved in to the desert southwest, pushed its way off the coast. High pressure moves into the Great Basin, creating those offshore winds. Those are very dangerous winds. Up here in the northern part of the state, we call them Diablo winds. Southern part of the state, Santa Ana winds. Any way you slice it, they accelerate through the hills. They're dry and warm with explosive fire growth. I was looking at the statewide view of how many fires are burning right now. Southern California just absolutely lit up late last week with those Santa Ana winds, and now we turn our attention to the northern part of the state. All right, so this is just a more detailed explainer, if you will. When we have that high pressure ridge over in the Great Basin, when those winds, they rise, they actually cool, but once they start to descend, they compress. And so this is where we get the very dangerous weather conditions right in here, because keep in mind, we haven't had rain for 4 months. So everything is just crispy and ready to go. Then we get into the valley. Those winds cool a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but then right after that, they're right back into the coastal range, and they have more acceleration, more drying, and they can be even more dangerous because they have a shorter gap there for compression. So they can become just devastating. Think about the North Bay fires with the Tubbs fire, how quickly those winds accelerated right through the hills. Okay, so here's the timeline of what we're seeing with a repeat of what I just showed you. Today we had the extreme fire weather, critical weather still tomorrow morning, and then everything quiets down. It's that 24-hour gap that we really need to take advantage of, because then we go right back into this. Now, it's not going to be quite as severe and widespread, but we certainly will see it on the on the east side of the valley here with critical fire weather Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday, and then we get some calmer weather Thursday and Friday. But here's the reason why I'm expecting this more on the eastern side of the state is this low right here is going to stay more to the east of us. It's not going to position itself off the coast like what we had over this weekend. Instead, it's going to create those stronger winds right in this area, say right around Paradise, and then moving through the Sierra Valley and the Sierra foothills as well. So the strong winds certainly returning, just not quite as much of a widespread event. So tonight, we'll still deal with extreme fire danger through the foothills, but then everything quiets down Monday midday through Tuesday. Look at this, though. We are right back at it. Tuesday afternoon. Look at how much of this map is covered by the potential for extreme fire behavior. Again, parts of the west side of the valley, but mostly a bigger stretch here through the eastern side of the state, including the eastern foothills. That's why PG&E is saying, I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep this power on. Some of us lost power just because of downed trees throughout the region. This one coming in from Fairfield Fire, you can see the damage this huge tree caused. And then this is out in NATOMAS where Karen's sending these in. Fence came down, and there's the tree. I was seeing a whole bunch on Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram, people saying, oh my gosh, cars damaged. I mean, completely smashed. So if you have photos, you can shoot them our way. Weatherforce@abc10.com. We also have our text line open, 916-321-3310. Now tonight, again, for the valley, we're out of that high wind warning. Temperature-wise, it's going to be a cool evening. Winds are continuing to calm here. They'll still be about 10 to 15 miles per hour, but nothing out of the ordinary, really. It's not until we get into that next time frame there, Tuesday into Wednesday, that we really start to see things ramping up. So tonight, foothills, steady, strong winds for the valley, lighter winds, and then that next wind event heads our way into Tuesday and Wednesday, guys.